Robert Saleh's optimism strikes again as Gang Green will head into Denver this Sunday with a depleted cornerback room. I'm Glenn Naughton with JetNation.com. Be sure to log on to JetNation.com where you can register and become a part of what is the most active Jets message board on the web. So Robert Saleh told us the other day that cornerback DJ Reed was going to be heading to concussion protocol, but he was optimistic that Reed would be able to play on Sunday, just as he was optimistic that Dwayne Brown would be fine before he landed on IR, and the way he was optimistic when Mekhi Becton got hurt once and then again that Mekhi Becton wouldn't be out that long, he would miss 2 years. Robert Saleh's optimism, maybe dial that back a little. Listen, I know Saleh likes to joke that he's the eternal optimist, and he really is. But when it comes to the injuries, let's just go with the injury report. Leave the optimism. Let's put that off to the side. So DJ Reed out. Brandin Echols out. Hamstring won't be playing. Concussion for Reed won't be playing. What does that mean for the Jets? It means that cornerback room, you lose your 2 and 3, you're in some trouble. So now we're going to see Bryce Hall, I would imagine, get bumped up to the number 2 spot. He'll get his fair share of playing time. The Jets, with this being the case, knowing they had these injuries, they made some moves the other day. They added Craig James, who fans should be familiar with by now, of course. Spent a fair bit of time with the team. And then they added Tay Hayes and Kalen Barnes to the practice squad. 2 guys who don't have a ton of experience. They a bunch of NFL stops between them, but not a whole lot of game film to go out and take a look at and see how they're doing. And they're out there this time of year. Not starting caliber guys. Will they be active? They might. Again, with 2 guys, you're down 2 guys. You might see the Jets have to elevate some people. I wouldn't be surprised if we also see someone on the D line get elevated. Maybe a Tanzel Smart, who they brought back. If you missed that, he came back recently. They're playing up in Denver. We know about the thin air. Some people try to downplay it, and it's not a big deal. I think it is. I mean, if you've lived in that area and you know what it's like, or even just visited that area and know what it's like to not be used to it and not be from there and step off an airplane or get out of a car or whatever for the first time, and you feel it hits you right away. So the Jets, as we know, like to employ these heavy rotations on the D line. Maybe you add another body to that and keep those rotations going to try to keep guys fresh. Because you're now facing a Denver Broncos offense, as bad as the Broncos are, and they are bad right now. I mean, they're giving up. You look defensively across the league or across the defensive rankings, the Broncos are 31 or 32 in just about every category. I think the only thing they were 31 in was run or pass, and they were 32 in the other. So I forget which one. I mean, listen, when you're giving up the number of points and yards they are, it doesn't really matter which one you're 31 and 32 in. They're just bad. They're giving up a ton of points, a ton of yards, which is good news for Breece Hall because Robert Saleh said the other day that he won't be on a pitch count anymore. So maybe a big day for Hall. Maybe you just run the hell out of him and see what he can do. And speaking of guys you might want to activate, and I know I've said this in recent weeks, and I've seen it on Twitter, and I've been asked by a few different people. Yeah, it's time to activate Izzy Abanikanda. I've been saying it for a couple of weeks now. Dalvin Cook clearly has nothing left in the tank. I know they're up there. Robert Saleh's up there at the podium telling us, "Oh, he's just getting his legs under him. He's just, he's getting there. He's getting there." I don't know that he is. We've talked about this before. We've talked about the numbers that we saw from Bill Barnwell in the offseason and the reason Minnesota moved on from Dalvin Cook. A big part of that was he'd lost that explosiveness. Led all NFL running backs last year in carries that went for zero or a loss of yards. He just doesn't have it. And you're paying him $7 million, which is the reason why Rich Cimini of ESPN New York says he thinks Cook will not be getting benched anytime soon. He's saying you're not going to pay a guy $7 million to not play. And I worry that Cimini might be right. So will Abanikanda be active? I doubt it. Should he be? Absolutely. Especially if you're going to be feeding Breece and giving him a ton of carries. Again, in that thin air, if you have a long drive and he's on the field for a long time, you're going to want to spell him. They're probably going to spell him with Cook. I would imagine it's going to be Cook for at least a couple more weeks. I mean, you can't run him out there all year at 2.5 yards a carry, 3 yards a carry. At some point, especially with a guy like Abanikanda, even Michael Carter. Like Michael Carter is a guy, again, doesn't get the ball, but I think last year's version of him wasn't the truest version of him. I think rookie Michael Carter is closer to the guy he is than what sophomore Michael Carter was. Of course, he's got to hold on to the ball. He had that huge drop the other day, which was a killer. But Cook, Carter, Abanikanda, Breece will get his touches, but unfortunately, I think Cimini nailed it there. I think we're going to see more of Cook. As far as the wide receivers go, expect a big day from Garrett Wilson. I mean, listen, when you're looking at the numbers Denver's giving up, you should expect a big game from everybody if Zach Wilson is the same version of the guy, the same version of Zach Wilson that we had the other day. And Jets fans are going to watch and they're going to cross their fingers and hope and pray that Zach has turned a corner and it wasn't a one-off fluke game. The reason, for me personally, the reason I think it wasn't a fluke game is because, as I've been saying for a while now, we've seen a lot of different parts of his game improve, but there were still some issues that, again, weren't as evident last week. The quick release, the quick decision making, stuff like that, taking some shots a little bit deeper down the field. I think that if we see more of that this week, we're going to see some more positive results from Zach Wilson, and he can use that. This is really, you look at the teams this Jets offense has faced. This is really the first defense Zach Wilson is going to go against that isn't a really good unit. Even the Chiefs may not be, as highly regarded as the Cowboys or the Bills, but they still have some guys on that defense that can make plays. You've got a great rusher up front in Chris Jones, so they've got some players there that they can make plays. And Denver's got some good players. I mean, listen, it's the NFL. Every team's gonna have a couple guys who can play, but they're just not getting it done right now. Even Patrick Surtain is kind of playing, not up to his standard right now, and the whole defense is just a mess. But the Jets defense, we can talk about the Broncos all we want, and yes, the Jets are. I mean, everybody at this point or up to this point has been better than the Broncos, but the Jets have still been a disappointment. I don't think they're as bad as some people are making them out to be, but they're also not as good as a lot of us thought they would be. This was that top five unit last year, and they added Will McDonald, who doesn't really see the field. Carl Lawson has taken a tremendous step back. I mean, Carl Lawson's invisible out there right now. So you've got some guys where there were expectations and you're coming up short. They obviously, as we know, they're not getting off the field on third down. But the big thing with the Jets is these slow starts on offense and defense. We hear it a lot about the offense because they have this, however, a million game streak of not scoring a touchdown in the first quarter. But they're giving up so many first quarter and first half points. They're really putting the offense, behind the eight ball, which shouldn't be as much of an issue, again, if your quarterback's playing better. So if Zach Wilson keeps that up, being down 10-0 at the half or 10-3 at the half isn't the end of the world the way it was, previously when it felt like 7-0 was game over. But on defense, the Jets this year have given up 72 points total, 61 of them in the first half. That's insane. And I know you can say Pat Mahomes pulled up on what would have been a touchdown run. Even if I give you that, that's still fewer than 20 second half points this year, and you've given up 61. It's got to get better. It's got to get better. Give up 13 in the first half of week 1, 18 week 2, 10 week 3, 20 week 4. You know, that's you're really killing your offense doing that every week. You're asking too much of them. You got to be better. Now this is the week, probably not the week to expect them to be better with the couple of corners out, and they're playing Russell Wilson, who has been better. Now Denver's banged up at running back as well, so they could be, they could that could obviously work to the Jets' advantage. But the key thing here has to be pounding the rock all day with Breece Hall, because you've got no pitch count and you're facing the worst run defense in the NFL. You let Zach throw it on early downs like he did last week, and if he has that success, then Denver can't stack the box, and then you just go to town and run all day. So how it unfolds, how they decide to approach it, we'll see. I think that is the approach I would expect to see. Zach not throwing it a ton, but throwing it early on to set up the run, and then just let Breece Hall do his thing. Hopefully, Izzy Abanikanda get some touches or be active. I doubt we'll see that. And maybe this is the week. Maybe this is the week Dalvin Cook needs too. This is what or the defense that Dalvin Cook needs to see. Get him against the defense that's struggling as badly as the Broncos are. Maybe get him some numbers, get some production, and get his confidence rolling, which will only do so much if he has lost a step. But it sure as hell will be a lot better than seeing him go out there, another 2.5 yards a carry type of game, which is what they've been getting out of him. I know people talk about how, the quarterback play's been bad, so guys are stacking the box. They are. They're stacking the box against the Jets, and one running back is averaging over 6.5 yards a carry, and the other guy's averaging 2.5 yards a carry. So the stack box thing, you got to do something for a player of his stature, making the money he's making. 2.5 a carry isn't going to get it done. Hopefully he gets rolling this week. Hopefully everyone gets rolling this week. Zach Wilson builds on his start last week against Kansas City. But the big story, again, of course, will be the cornerback room. being down their number 2 and number 3 guys. Who gets elevated? Who steps up? We'll find out on Sunday. Have a good one, Jets fans.